I wish people who did interviews with Trump would troll him more. You could absolutely set up a great troll here. Oh, you know, you learned about you're cloaked with all these people that are big in sports, and you know they don't like to lose. You know, did they inspire you at all to create those 7 fake slates of electors? Okay, fuck anyone who blames the Democrats for not turning down the temperature with rhetoric when Donald Trump is literally now on record as saying, you know, I think you got to fight fire with fire.
And then you realize they can't speak. They choke. You know, it's hard to make a speech in front of that.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting, and they did a lot of blasting. Look, Biden is the worst president in the history.
Okay, yeah, okay, so we don't answer the question and immediately blame Biden. Okay, sick, fire. Also, wait, you want to talk about softball interview? Motherfucker, you're on Lex Fridman right now. He's known for letting people spew their bullshit and not offering any pushback. You really want to be making that criticism right now when it just came out that like Tenet Media was literally being paid by Russia? It's just like they literally just like chose the lowest part of the graph and said Trump left office here. The dates are wrong, I know, yeah.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to Project
Nothing. I know nothing about it. And they know that too. Democrats know that. And I purposely haven't read it because I want to say to you...
Meanwhile, you have Heritage Foundation founder like saying, or not the founder, but the leader saying like, oh, you know, we know Trump's making a political consideration, but you know, Trump's on board. I don't think an unrealized gain tax is good. I've argued against that. You can watch my fucking debates where I argue against it, okay? It's not communist. If Kamala Marxism, biggest supporter based.
And it's never worked once. It leads to communism. It leads to socialism. It leads to having no food.
So I'm not going to take anything he says seriously on this because Trump has said the most retarded shit about tariffs nonstop since 2016, okay?
And I didn't. And I explained it to people. You know, they say, lock her up, lock her up. It doesn't. We won. I said, we don't want to put her in jail. We want to bring the country together. I want to bring the country together. You don't bring the country together by
and
putting
now they're
her
prosecuting him. Can you believe it? Why would they ever do that?
They went to work on me. It's amazing. And they suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and...
Jack Smith is the ultimate Trump derangement syndrome. Donald Trump with Lex Fridman. Let's see how centrist Lex Fridman treats him.
I don't know if you know this, but some people call you a fascist.
Yeah, they do. So I figure it's all right to call them a communist. Yeah, they call me a lot worse than I call them.
A lot of people listening to this.
Oh, true. Oh, true. When Donald Trump like intentionally makes like stupid ass mean nicknames for like literally every single like opponent that he has, even within its own party, like Lion Ted, like Meatball Ron.
That doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
I believe you have to fight fire with fire.
Politics is a dirty game.
It is a dirty.
Wow. Okay, fuck anyone who blames the Democrats for not turning down the temperature with rhetoric when Donald Trump is literally now on record as saying, you know, I think you got to fight fire with fire.
Game. It's certainly true.
How do you win at that game?
They suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and I don't know if it's curable from their standpoint.
I think we'd probably have a better world if everybody in Congress took some mushrooms, perhaps.
First of all, medical marijuana has been amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me that it's been absolutely amazing.
The list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it?
The following is a conversation with Donald Trump on the Lex Fridman podcast.
They're getting smaller and smaller.
They're getting smaller.
Right?
I mean, people do respect you more when you have a big camera for some reason.
No, it's cool. And about 20 guys that you pay a fortune to, right?
All right. Okay. You said that you love winning, and you have won a lot in life. In real estate, in business, in TV, in politics. So let me start with a mindset, a psychology question. What drives you more, the love of winning?
Also, he's won a single time in politics. He's ran for president 3 times, and he's won once.
I hate losing.
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning. I've never thought of it as to which is more of a driving force.
You've been close with a lot of the greats in sport. You think about Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali. You have people like Michael Jordan, who I think hate losing more than anybody. So what do you learn from those guys?
Well, they do have something different. You know, the great champions have something very different, like the sports champions. And, you know, you have champions in other fields, but you see it more readily in sports. You see it over a weekend, or you see it during a game. And you see that certain people stand out, and they keep standing out. But it's there for you. It doesn't take a lifetime to find out that somebody was a winner or a loser. And so the sports thing is very interesting. But, you know, I play golf with different people, and there's a different mindset among champions, there's really a very different mindset. There's a different thought process.
You could, dude. I wish people who did interviews with Trump would troll him more. You could absolutely set up a great troll here. Oh, you learned about you're close with all these people that are big in sports, and they don't like to lose. Did they inspire you at all to create those 7 fake slates of electors?
Talent-wise, sometimes you can't tell the difference in talent, but at the end of a weekend, they seem to win. And it's very interesting. Like as an example, Tiger or Jack Nicklaus, he was a phenomenal winner. And he does have a different way about him. And Tiger has a different way about him. And Michael Jordan. And there's never one, you would think that there'd be one way. Arnold Palmer was the nicest guy you'd ever meet. And then you have some champions that aren't really nice. They're just focused on doing their job. So you have, there's not one type of person. But the one thing I would say that everybody seems to have in common is they're very driven. They're driven like beyond.
They don't seem to give up easily.
They don't give up. They don't give up, but they do seem to be, they have a passion that's maybe more than people that don't do as well.
You've said that politics is a dirty game in the past.
It is a dirty game. That's certainly true.
So if it is a game, how do you win at that game?
Well, you win at that game by getting the word out and by using sense. You have to have a feeling where it's going. You also have to have a feeling of what's right. You can't necessarily just go what's popular. You have to do what's good for a country if you're talking about countries. But you have to get the word out.
Oh,
and you have to
Donald Trump, who doesn't do what's popular when he's flip-flopped on abortion 5 times, when he's doing the no tax. I guess Kamala Harris did a copy of the no tax and tip thing, so maybe I shouldn't criticize that one. But there was another thing. What was I going to say?
Like, for instance, you have a great show. You have a great...
Oh, the TikTok ban. Trump, that he flip-flopped on. Partially because I think one of his donors didn't like it, if I remember correctly. Vote for me if you want to save TikTok. But partially also because he probably wants fucking idiot, dumbass young men to vote for him.
Podcast. It's very well watched. And I'm sitting here and I do this. A lot of people see it. And I do other things and a lot of people see that. And I go traditional also. You have traditional television, which is getting a little bit older and maybe less significant. Could be less significant. I don't know. But it's changing a lot. The whole plane of platform is changing a lot. It's changed a lot in the last 2-3 years. But from a political standpoint, you have to find out what people are doing, what they're watching, and you have to get it. You have to get on. I just see that these platforms are starting to dominate. They're getting very big numbers. I did Spaces with Elon, and they got numbers like nobody's ever heard before. So, this is, you wouldn't do that on like radio. You wouldn't do those numbers, no matter how good a show. You wouldn't do those numbers on radio. You wouldn't do them on television.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of Russian bots listen to radio.
What do you think is the difference between gaining success between the two different, disparate worlds?
Yeah, and they're different, very different. I have a lot of people that are in business that are successful, and they'd like to go over to politics. And then you realize they can't speak. They choke. It's hard to make a speech in front of that. Let's say you're talking about a big audience, but I get very big audiences. And, for many people, it's virtually impossible to get up and speak for an hour and a half and have nobody leave.
Well, I guess Trump does have a unique ability to rant incoherently for 6 hours straight.
It's not an easy thing to do, and it's an ability. But I have many people that are very, very successful in business, would love to do what I did, and yet they can't pull the trigger. And in many cases, I don't think it would work almost for
what late night show is it?
It's a very tough thing to do. It's a big transition. And now, if you talked about people in the business and politics going into business, likewise, that wouldn't generally work out so well either. It's different talents. It's different skills. I have somebody who wants to go into politics so bad, but he's got a little problem. He's got stage fright. Now, he's a total killer. But if he gets up into a stage in front of people, he doesn't do well, to put it mildly, actually. I mean, he does badly.
So you have to be able to make
this.
By the way, when Obama went on TV to announce minutes, Trump yesterday did 48 minutes on this. And for further comparison, we thought it might be fun to match up Trump's speech about al-Baghdadi with Obama's about bin Laden, and we were right, it was.
The United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden.
Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead.
The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound.
They did a lot of shooting, and they did a lot of blasting, even not going.
So, I guess in a way, Trump does have a unique ability to speak. It's just not in a very presidential way.
Hard decisions like you do in business, but also be able to captivate an audience.
Look, if you're a politician, you have to be able to speak in front of large crowds. There are a lot of people who can't do that. I've seen it. They can't even think about doing it, and they don't. There are many people in business right now, I could name them, but I don't want to embarrass anybody. They've been talking about running for president for 15 years. and they're very big in business, very well known actually. But it takes guts to run. Like for president, I can tell you, it takes guts to run. It's also a very dangerous profession, if you want to know the truth, but dangerous in a different sense too. But it takes a lot of courage to run for president. It's not easy. But you have, and you know, the same people as I do. There are a lot of people that would like to run for president that are very, very successful in business, but they don't have the guts to do it, and they have to give up a lot.
One of the great things about people from the business world is they're often great deal makers, and you're a great deal maker. And you've talked about the war in Ukraine and that you would be able to find a deal that both Putin and Zelensky would accept. What do you think that deal looks like?
I think the deal, and I wouldn't talk about it too much because
okay, this is actually a good question. Let's see if he has a good answer.
I can make a deal. If I win as president-elect, I'll have a deal made, guaranteed. That's a war that shouldn't have happened. It's terrible. Look, Biden is the worst president in the history.
Okay, yeah, okay. So we don't answer the question and immediately blame Biden. Okay, sick, fire.
And she's probably worse than him. That's something.
Why was I expecting anything different? This is what he's done every single time he gets asked a question on this.
But it did happen. And now it's a much tougher deal to make than it would have been before it started. Millions of people. I think the number's going to be a lot higher when you see this all at some point iron out. I think the death numbers are going to be a lot higher than people think. When you take a look at the destruction and the buildings coming down all over the place in Ukraine, I think those numbers are going to be a lot higher. They lie about the numbers. They try and keep them low. They knock down a building that's 2 blocks long. These are big buildings. And they say one person was mildly injured. No. A lot of people were killed. And there are people in those buildings, and they have no chance. Once they start coming down, there's no chance. So that's a war that absolutely has to get done. And then you have Israel, and then you have a lot of other places that are talking war. The world is a rough place right now. And a lot of it's because of the fact that America has no leadership. And I believe that she'll be probably worse than Biden. I watched the interview the other night. I mean, it was just a softball interview.
So you would like to see her do more interviews?
Just a softball interview.
I don't know. I can't believe the whole thing is.
God, you know what's crazy? I said this when I watched the interview. I was expecting it to be more of a softball than it was. The fact that like it was like a pre-taped interview with her vice president. It's like, okay, I was semi expecting it to be like a softball interview, but like how do I already forget her name? The lady who interviewed her actually did a good job, like pushing back. Like when Kamala didn't answer the question about like what you would do day one, she was like, well, what would you actually do day one?
We had a man
yeah,
in there that should have never been in there. They kept them in a basement. They used COVID. They cheated, but they used COVID to cheat. And they cheated without COVID too. But you had somebody in there, and now we have a woman.
Also, wait, do you want to talk about softball interview, motherfucker? You're on Lex Fridman right now. He's known for letting people spew their bullshit and not offering any pushback. That is his whole shtick. That is what he does.
I mean, she couldn't do an interview. This was a really soft interview. This is an interview where they're given her multiple choice questions, multiple guess. I call it multiple guess. And I don't think she did well. I think she did very poorly.
How do you think you'll do in the debate coming up? It's in a few days.
So I've done a lot of debating, only as a politician. I never debated. My first debate was the Rosie O'Donnell debate, right? The famous Rosie O'Donnell debate, the answer. But I've done well with debates. I mean, I became president. Then the second time I got millions more votes than I got the first time. So I was told if I got 63 million, which is what I got the first time, you would win. You can't not win. And I got millions of more votes than that. And lost by a whisker. And look what happened to the world with all of the wars and all of the problems. And look what happened with inflation, because inflation's just eating up our country, eating it up. So it's too bad.
Like cricket or dusting or musting.
There are a lot of things that could happen. We have to get those wars settled. We have to get
that is not an English sentence you just wrote.
You have to get Ukraine done. That could end up in a third world war. So could the Middle East.
So maybe let's talk about what it takes to negotiate with somebody like Putin or Zelensky. Do you think Putin would be?
Well, I had a very good relationship with them.
I don't know.
But I'm not going to talk on any of the details of what the deal would be.
All of this would have never happened, and it would have been very easy.
Oh, yeah. Now
because you don't have, like, that question wouldn't be asked. That's a tougher question. Once that starts happening, because he has taken over a lot of territory. Now, I guess they're insurgents now, too, right? So, it's a little bit interesting that's happening.
What's up to Cooley 56?
And that it can happen. And it's interesting that Putin has allowed that to happen. Look, that's one that should have never started. We have to get it stopped. Ukraine is being demolished. They're destroying a great culture that's largely destroyed.
What do you think works better in those kinds of negotiations?
Oh no! He said great culture. Oh no! Everyone clip that and post it with images of the ASOP battalion under it. Everyone do it now. Can't believe you would say that. Oh my God! What the hell?
The stick, friendship, or sort of the threat of using the economic and military power.
So it depends on who the person is. Everyone's different. Negotiation's interesting because it depends on who the person is. And then you have to guess or know through certain knowledge, which is, more important, the carrot or the
all the
stick.
media does it, trust
And with some people it's the stick, and with some people it's the carrot. I think that the stick probably is generally more successful, and that, we're talking about war. But the kind of destruction that we're witnessing now, nobody's ever seen. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And we're witnessing it all over. We're witnessing it in in all parts of the world. And a lot of things are going to get started. Look what's going on with China. Look at Japan. They're starting to rearm now. They're starting to rearm because China's getting, taking over certain islands. And there's a lot of danger in the war right now in the world. There's a lot of
China's making islands. I wonder if China taking over
islands. We better
get
this thing done fast because 5 months with people like her and him, he's checked out. He just goes to the beach and thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, which he doesn't. He sort of checked out. Hey, look, you can't blame him.
Fire.
That was a coup. They took it over. They took over the presidential deal. The whole presidential thing was taken over in a coup. He had
He's still upset. He's so upset about it. He wanted to face Biden so bad. He's mauling, bro.
14 million votes.
Elections are nowhere near fair anymore because one side took control of the media, and that's what a lot of people think. You really want to be making that criticism right now when it just came out that like Tenet Media was literally being paid by Russia? They were paid almost $10 million by Russia to do their shit. That's the criticism you want to be making right now? Is about the media? It's about whether the media is fair or not?
But she had no votes, not one. And nobody thought it was going to be her. Nobody wanted it to be her. She was a joke until 6 weeks ago when they said we're going to have to, politically, they felt they had to pick her.
Russia always controlled the media. I don't know if they always controlled the media. I think after the Russian-Ukraine war, they definitely upped their what's the word for it? Their propaganda operations with their Russian bots, and apparently directly paying media organizations in the U.S. to report misinformation on the Russia-Ukraine war.
And if they didn't pick her, they thought there'd be a problem. I don't know if that's right or not. I actually don't think it's right, but they thought it was right. And now immediately the press comes to their aid.
If we can go back to China on negotiation, how do we avoid war with China in the 21st century?
Well, there are ways. Now, here's the problem. If I tell you how, and I'd love to do it, but if I give you a plan, like I have a very exacting plan how to stop Ukraine and Russia, and I have a certain idea, maybe not a plan, but an idea for China, because we're in a lot of trouble. They'll be in a lot of trouble too, but we're in a lot of trouble. But I can't give you those plans because if I give you those plans, I'm not going to be able to use them. They'll be very unsuccessful. Part of it's surprise, but they won't be able to help us much.
So you have a plan of what to say to Putin?
Yeah, I know.
Take office.
No, I had a very good relationship with him, and I had a good relationship with Zelensky too.
Oh, there we go.
I had a very good relationship with Putin.
Tough topic.
True, very good relationship with Zelensky, and that's why a whistleblower had to come out and say you tried to condition aid to him based on soliciting interference in the election. For dirt on fucking Hunter Biden.
But important. You said lost by a whisker. I'm an independent. I have a lot of friends who are independent, many of whom like your policies, like the fact that you're a deal maker, like the fact that you can end wars, but they are troubled by what happened in the 2020 election and statements about widespread fraud and this kind of stuff, fake electoral scheme. What can you say to those independent voters to help them decide who to vote for?
I think the fraud was on the other side. I think the election was a fraud.
Great answer, dude. And Lex does not go back to that at all. He just lets Trump spew like 10 different bullshit claims. Having a strong economy is more important than spending all our money and avoiding what won't happen with China. I think we have a pretty strong economy right now. I think the economy under Biden has been way stronger than it ever was under Trump. But okay.
And many people felt it was that, and they wanted answers. And when you can't challenge an election, you have to be able to challenge it. Otherwise,
not true.
It's going to get worse, not better.
I don't have time to go down the whole rabbit. Oh, here, let me just go to Graphsite, like the whole like rabbit hole right now because I want a like reaction video to this so I can milk it for YouTube views. But like, there's a whole bunch of metrics that we can look at that seem to be quite a bit better under Biden than they were under Trump. Here's just real GDP. This is just real GDP growth, for example, both with COVID and without COVID, it was much higher under Biden than it was under Trump. Yeah, real GDP growth is like super, super high in the U.S. This is 2008. Oh, this is a big thing. Yeah, I forgot about this. Real GDP is higher now than we projected it would be before the COVID recession. Our GDP is higher right now than we projected it would be before COVID, assuming COVID didn't happen. We're still above those projections. You're right, because the average American is doing amazing and can afford more than a coat of Trump. Unironically, kind of. Yeah, we can look at a few charts here. Here, this is percent change in real median net worth. This is from 2019 to 2022. You can see it's up for like almost everybody. I don't know. Bottom 20% of earners, top 20% of earners is up. Like it's up for basically everybody. Yeah. Unironically, mostly true. I think real median cash balances increased for like 80% of Americans. Yeah, we had unemployment was like at 4%, under 4% for 27 months. There was a lot of wage compression, so wages grew fast for the bottom wages grew fastest for the bottom 10% of workers. Yeah, a lot of people saw a lot of benefits from this kind of stuff. Yes. Unironically, yes.
And there are lots of ways to solve this problem. Go to paper ballots, do it the easy way. I mean, paper ballots, and you have voter ID, and you have same-day voting, and you have proof of citizenship, which is very important because we have people voting that are not citizens. They just came in, and they're loading up
3 million of them.
The payrolls. They're loading up everything. They're putting students in schools. They don't speak a word of English, and they're taking the seats of people that are citizens of our country. So, look, we have the worst border in the history of the world. We have coming into our
country
right now.
Now we're onto the border. Yep, good job, Lex. What a great interviewer, bro. Just let him spew like 5 false claims about election fraud, and then now we're immediately on the border.
And millions of people.
All right, fire. Okay, cool.
I don't believe any country's ever seen it. And they would use sticks.
I don't believe any. That's not even true. We've seen this high of immigration before, like not even that long ago, like in 2000. But like here's, yeah, you can see our crossings are really not any higher than they were in the early 2000s. A wide open border is horrible for the country. I don't think we have a wide open border right now. I think like we can go through all the like statistics. Like Biden has deported a higher percentage of people who cross the border than Trump has, and that's with Trump having the benefit of Title 42 during COVID. Because during COVID, that allowed Trump to turn way more immigrants away. Although, interestingly, if you include the number of known gotaways as people who completely evaded Border Patrol, Title 42 didn't actually fix that problem. Hold on, where's my... The number of known gotaways increased really great under increased a lot under Title 42. So, despite the fact that we might have had lower border encounters, the actual number of crossings was lower, but it wasn't significantly lower because the number of known gotaways increased a lot.
They're emptying out their prisons and their mental institutions into the United States of America. We can't let that happen.
So a lot of people believe that there was some shady stuff that went on with the election, whether it's media bias or big tech.
Go back to the election.
Still, the claim of widespread fraud is the thing that bothers people.
Well, I don't focus on the past. I focus on the future. I mean, I talk about how bad the economy is, how bad inflation is, how bad things like, which is important. Afghanistan was...
Inflation is at 2.9% right now with CPI, which is going to give you the highest measure because that's kept up by owners' equivalent rent. But what's up, Grumple?
In my opinion, the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to our country. And because of that, I think Putin went in.
Now we're in Afghanistan. God fucking damn it. Well, I guess I have to read the Afghanistan report at some point because everyone keeps bringing it up. But
Putin went in. But it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. I really believe that. But, you know, we left
really the most embarrassing moment. Motherfucking more soldiers died when you fucking withdrew from Syria than or I don't know if more died, more were injured at least when he withdrew from Syria than Afghanistan. 2024, who even reads? True, accurate.
A little bit more. For this election, it might be a close one. What can we do to avoid the insanity and division of the previous election, whether you win or lose?
Well, I hope it's not.
Well, I think you got to fight fire or fire.
You know, I don't know how people can vote for somebody that has destroyed our country. The inflation, the bad economy, but to me, in a way, the worst is what they've allowed to happen at our border, where they've allowed millions of people to come in here from places that you don't want to know about. And I can't believe that that's going to be a close election. You know, we're leading in the polls, and it looks close.
That's not true.
But I think in the end, it's not going to be a close election.
What do you think is the right way to solve the immigration crisis? Is mass deportation one of the solutions you would think about?
Well, you've got to get the criminals out of here fast, right? You know, the people from mental institutions, you got to get them back in.
Fighting fire is sometimes the best solution. I mean, you're not entirely wrong. It's just that probably should not be criticizing Democrats for dividing the country or whatever. When Trump is like, you got to fight fire or fire. That's why I create mean nicknames for literally anyone who gets in who slightly inconveniences me. We have Lion Ted and Meatball Ron and what does he call Kamala? Crazy? Is it Crazy Kamala or something? Yeah, I don't
to
know.
their mental institution. No country can afford this. You know, it's
Sleepy
just too much money. You look at what's happening in New York and Chicago and LA and lots of places. And
by the way, immigration is going to decrease the deficit. Like CBO estimates this. Basically, everyone estimates this that it's not expensive. It's the exact opposite. immigration is going to decrease the deficit because guess what? Immigrants also work and are taxpayers and they contribute to the economy as well. They shift the production possibilities curve outwards. It's not like they're only draining our resources.
And we've got to get the bad ones out immediately.
Yeah,
and
that's
the rest
what we want
to be worked on. You know, it's happened before. Dwight Eisenhower was sort of a moderate president, moderate type person, but he hated when he saw people pouring into the country, and they were nothing like now. You know, I probably got elected in 2016 because of the border. And I told people what was happening, and they understood it. And
I'm going to get elected again because of the border. That's why I shut down that bill.
I won the election, I think because
I've never seen any left-leaning people willing to listen to anything he says. I don't know if people are watching. I feel like almost every major left-wing commentator that I watch at least has watched the interview already. Kind of
border
we need more people like you.
25 times worse right now than it was in 2016.
25 times worse.
The last week of my famous chart that I put up was exactly that. You know the chart. When I looked to the right, I said, there's the chart. That was not a pleasant experience. But the chart that I put up said, and that was done by Border Patrol, that was the lowest number.
He has to mention he got shot. He wants the assassination bump so much, but nobody cares. Oh, God, the chart. Oh, welcome, Room Black. Yeah, the chart, which, by the way, I didn't notice until Destiny pointed it out. Yeah, it says he left office way before he did. It's just like they literally just like chose the lowest part of the graph and said Trump left office here. The dates are wrong. I know. Yeah.
Let me ask you about Project 2025. So you've publicly said that you don't have any direct connection to
nothing. I know nothing about it, and they know that too. Democrats know that, and I purposely haven't read it because I want to say to you.
Meanwhile, you have Heritage Foundation founder like saying, or not the founder, but the leader saying like, oh, you know, we know Trump's making a political consideration, but you know, Trump's on board.
I have no idea what it's all about. It's easier than saying I read it and, you know, all of the things. No, I purposely haven't read it.
And like half of his campaign staff is like it's like writing it.
And
or no, I shouldn't say, or like former staff.
I've heard about it. I've heard about things that are in there that I don't like. And there's some things in there that everybody would like. But there are things that I don't like at all. And I think it's unfortunate that they put it out. But it doesn't mean anything because it has nothing to do with me. Project 25 has absolutely nothing to do with me.
You posted recently about marijuana. And that you're okay with it being,
and also we don't get any pushback in that. Like you should at least ask, like, hey, you say it has nothing to do with you, but like, why have so many of your former staff members are involved in writing it? Hey, like, why you say it's nothing to do with you, but like, why did you enact 64% of the Heritage Foundation's proposed policies back in during your first term? Wages go lower because of the influx of workers. So the empirical data on that is it shows that the decrease in wages is not that much because immigrants are both a positive demand shock to the labor market, but they're also a demand shock for goods demanded, right? So like you're increasing demand, so companies earn more money, they get more revenue at the same time. And also, you could say the exact same thing in native-born citizens. You know that, right? Like if we have more kids, there's going to be more workers, and that's going to push wages down. That equally applies to native-born citizens just as much as it does to immigrants. But the benefit of immigrants is, unlike children who have to be put through the education system, immigrants are ready to work now. They are ready to work and contribute now, at least the ones that aren't minors. But a lot of the working age immigrants are ready to work now, whereas children have to be supported by taxpayer money for a number of years before they can work. Same thing happened when girls joined the workforce, not to mention crime is skyrocketing. So most of it, like I shouldn't say most of the data, sorry. All of the data shows that immigrants commit less crime than native-born population. But there's no point to the Democrats will control the whole thing and make it look worse than Trump. There's no point to the Democrats will control that whole thing. What? Didn't Alex Jones get sued for that type of thing? What type of thing? I have a massive issue with something like that. Legal immigrants. What about legal immigrants? Democrats will control legal immigrants to make it look worse than Trump.
Legalized, but it has to be done safe.
Those numbers don't include undocumented immigrants. What numbers? The numbers on crime? Yes, they do. We can look at Texas. Texas is the only state that keeps data on all the inmates and to determine whether or not they're legal or illegal immigrants. And the data from Texas shows that they commit less crime than native-born citizens.
Briefly, can you explain your policy there?
Even illegal just put out a paper. And first of all, medical marijuana has been.
How is that even possible? A lot of immigrants are probably worried of being deported if they commit a crime, so they probably could commit less crime. every single one immediately commits a crime upon entering. I hate that, like, the most retarded statement, because, like, obviously, yes, we're not including that. If that, like, oh my God, it's such a dumb. We're already, we're talking about illegal immigrants. Like, yes, surely a common sense look at the numbers. There's just less natives in terms of the population. Very true. I'm not arguing for it.
Amazing. It's been, I've had friends and I've had others and doctors telling me.
I mean, less crime, like, as a percentage of their population, less per capita crime. Hold on. You can look at all that fucking data.
It's great. And it's interesting that you're thinking about being more accepting of some of these drugs, which don't just have.
I feel like, I think Trump also did pardon marijuana users. But so did Biden also. Biden also did that. And then Biden also did the rescheduling marijuana. Did this. He formally moved to reclassify marijuana, but I don't remember exactly what happened with it. House lawmakers vote to block federal marijuana rescheduling. Oh, well, shit. Hey, what are Republicans going to do when it goes back to actual conservatism? Who knows?
A recreational purpose, but a medical purpose, a treatment purpose.
So we put out a statement today. We're going to put out another one probably next week, be more specific, although I think it's pretty specific. And we'll see how that all goes. That's a referendum coming up in some states, but it's coming up, and we'll see how it does. I will say it's been very hard to beat it. You take a look at the numbers, it's been very hard to beat it. So I think it'll generally pass, but you want to do it in a safe way.
The country seems more divided than ever.
Yeah.
What can you do to help alleviate some of that division?
Well, you can get rid of these two people. They're terrible. They're terrible.
Wow,
you don't want to have them
running
this country. They're not equipped to run it. Joe.
I have a really good question for you. Okay.
And Kamala, I think she'll end up being worse than him. We'll see. I think a lot's now, the convention's over with, and I see I'm leading in just about all the polls now. They had their little
leading in all
period,
the polls is the exact opposite of true. I don't know if he's leading in any nationwide poll. Obviously, he's probably leading in some states, but I think he's probably leading in Nevada, and he might be leading in Pennsylvania. But I don't think any nationwide general election poll. I know all of them leading in this one a little bit within margin of error, though. Over there.
Anyway. She worked at McDonald's. It's not a big lie, but it's a big lie. It's so, they just went and they checked. And unless you can show something, they don't talk about, the press isn't going to follow up with it, but I'll keep hammering it. But she never worked at McDonald's. It was just a,
So you can't PNG it for a thumbnail.
Sort of a cool thing to say, hey, I worked at McDonald's, But one of the worst was 2 days ago, I went to Arlington at the request of people that lost their children. I lost my child, but the child is a soldier, and lost the child because of Biden and because of Kamala, just as though they had the gun in their hand, because it was so badly handled. It should have been done at Bagram, which is the big air base. It shouldn't have been done at a small little airport right in the middle of town where people stormed it. It was a true disaster, and they asked me if I'd come and celebrate with them. 3 years. They died 3 years ago. And I said, I'm going to try. I got to know them because I brought them here, actually. One night, they almost all came here. And they said, I wonder if Trump will.
Where's the edit of this? This edit was so funny. Where's the edit of it?
Guys in the media, you're acting like Donald Trump filmed a TV commercial at a.
We lost 13 great.
Well, here's the actual video.
13 great.
God, there was a funny edit of it where like they overlaid it and it was funny.
Well, actually, come and see us. I heard they were here. I came, so we stayed for like 4 hours listening to music up on a deck right upstairs. Beautiful. And they were great people. So they called me over the last couple of weeks and they said, we're going to have a reunion, a 3-year reunion. Would you be able to come? And it was very hard for me to do it logistically, but I said, I'll get it done. And I got there and we had a beautiful time. I didn't run away. I didn't just walk in, shake hands and walk out like people do. And I wasn't looking at my watch like Joe Biden does. And it was amazing. So I did it for them. I didn't do it for me. I don't need the publicity. I mean, I get more publicity probably than anybody. You would know that better than me, but I think maybe more than anybody that's ever lived. I don't know, but I don't think anyone could have any more. Every time you turn on television, there's like 9 different stories, all on different topics, and they're all about stuff. As an example, you interview a lot of people, good people, successful people. Let's see how you do with this interview versus them. Okay. I mean, I can tell you right now, you're going to get the highest numbers you've ever had by sometimes a factor of 10. But when a Gold Star family asks me to come in and spend time with them. And then they said, sir, we did a ceremony. And then we went down to the graves, which was quite a distance away.
Yeah, then you filmed the commercial.
Sir, would you come to the grave? And then they said when we were there, it's very sad actually, because these people shouldn't have died. They shouldn't have died. They died because of Biden and because of Kamala They died because it's just like if they pulled the trigger. Okay. Now, I don't know if that's kind of
just like the exact same thing. True.
Afghanistan was the most incompetently run operation I think I've ever seen, military or otherwise. They're incompetent. But the families asked me if I'd go. I did go.
I like how he keeps saying that, motherfucker. You're the one that negotiated the withdrawal. You're the one that negotiated the timeline without the Afghanistan military. You're the one that I think it was under him where we transferred all of our air bases over to the Afghan military. So we only had the one air base to evacuate from when we actually had to withdraw. Because I'm pretty sure it was under him where we transferred all the air bases to the Afghanistan military. At least it's Channel Rock as an example. Trump has no cognitive decline, by the way. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's incredible that he's the oldest nominee ever, and he's still as sharp as ever, if you can believe it. Still, he doesn't slur his speech at all.
Then the family said, could we have a picture at the tombstone of my son? And we did. I get home that night and I get a call that the Biden administration with Kamala is accusing me of using Arlington for publicity. I was in just the opposite. Just the opposite.
Just the opposite.
And actually, did you see, it just came out, the families actually put out a very strong statement defending me. They said, we asked him to be there.
Well, politicians and the media can play those games. And you're right. Your name gets a lot of views. You're probably legit the most famous person in the world. But on the previous thing, in the spirit of unity, you used to be a Democrat.
Yeah.
Setting the politicians aside, what do you respect most about people who lean left, who are Democrats themselves or of that persuasion, progressives, liberals, and so on?
Well, look, I respect the fact that everybody's in there. And, to a certain extent, life is what you do while you're waiting to die. So you might as well do a good job. I think in terms of what's happening now, I think, we have a chance to save the country. This country's going down. And I called it with Venezuela. I called it with a lot of different countries. And this country's going down. If we don't win this election, the election coming up on November 5th is the most important election this country's ever had. Because if we don't win it, I don't know that there'll be another election. And it's going to be a communist country or close.
True. It's going to be a communist country. We're going to get there that fast, man. Okay, fire.
There's a lot of people listening to this, myself included, that doesn't think that Kamala is a communist.
Well, she's a Marxist.
Her father's a Marxist,
right.
And she's advocating.
It's a little unusual,
She's advocating for some policies that are towards the direction of democratic socialism, let's say. But there's a lot of people that kind of know the way government works, and they say, well, none of those policies are going to actually come to reality. It's just being used during the campaign to.
Her insane communistic policies, like the anti-price gouging thing and the unrealized gains tax. I don't think an unrealized gain tax is good. I've argued against that. You can watch my fucking debates where I argue against it, okay? It's not communist. If Kamala is a Marxism biggest supporter based. Name one time that's worked. What worked? When Kamala wins, nothing changes. Please stop caring about politics again. One time's what worked? The price caps? She's not even advocating for price controls. She's clarified. It's just like an anti generic call to increase antitrust enforcement. Yeah, it's antitrust stuff. Antitrust stuff is probably fine. She even clarified she's not in support of the thing that the bill that Elizabeth Warren proposed, which was an anti-price gouging thing.
Groceries are too expensive. We need them cheaper. So let's talk about price controls. And that's never going to come to reality.
It could come to reality. Look, she came out with price control. It's been tried like 121 different times at different places over the years. And it's never worked once. It leads to communism. It leads to socialism. It leads to having no food.
So I'm not going to take anything he says seriously on this because Trump has said the most retarded shit about tariffs nonstop since 2016. Okay, he constantly says that Mexico or China pays tariffs when that's not true. He says that they protect jobs, which is not true. They're also inflationary, by the way. They're going to increase inflation. They're directly inflationary. I'm not going to.
And it leads to tremendous inflation.
Trump's plan is making more industrial nations. No, it's not, because tariffs don't work for that. You know what does work for that? The CHIPS Act, baby. Using tariffs as the way to get there. He put tariffs on fucking steel and aluminum, which all that did was lead to 75,000 job losses in manufacturing. So yeah, great industrial policy he did there. Meanwhile, let's look up real. Here, let me just go to my Doug Brandon notes. I have it here. Meanwhile, you want to know who manufacturing actually increased under? Is Biden. Look at how much it increased under Biden. Because of the CHIPS Act and because of the Inflation Reduction Act. These were major investments in American manufacturing. Like, look at it increased dramatically. This is real meaning adjusted for inflation spending and manufacturing. Like, yeah, this is employment in non-residential construction. That increased massively under Biden as well.
Dishonest hoaxes, just like they did in the past with Russia. That was a hoax.
Russia. That was a hoax, which, by the way, now we know Tenet Media is getting paid $10 million from Russia because of their pro-Russian talking points.
51 different, agencies or agents. That was a hoax. The whole thing was a hoax. There was so many hoaxes and scams. But I didn't want to put her in jail. And I didn't. And I explained it to people. They say, lock her up. It doesn't. We won. I said, we don't want to put her in jail. We want to bring the country together. I want to bring the country together. You don't bring the country together by
and
putting her in jail.
And now they're prosecuting him. Can you believe it? Why would they ever do that?
They went to work on me. It's amazing. And they suffer from massive Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. And
Jack Smith is the ultimate Trump derangement syndrome. Thank you for the follow, Kool-Aid 56. Thanks.
A lot of people
appreciate it a lot.
Why do you think so many smart, powerful
people welcome.
allowed him to get so close?
He was a good salesman. He was, was a hale and hearty type of guy. He had some nice assets that he'd throw around, like islands. But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting
He'll
because it's
certainly take a look at it.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so.
Okay, that was hilarious. And 9/11, yeah. Absolutely. Kennedy, sure. Epstein, I guess so. I mean...
Yeah.
When you're getting attacked, you're one of the most attacked people in the world.
I think
I wonder why.
You can't care that much. I know people that care so much about everything, like what people are saying. You can't care too much because you end up choking.
One of the tragic things about life is that it ends. How often do you think about your death? Are you afraid of it?
I have a friend who's very, very successful, and he's in his 80s, mid-80s, and he asked me that exact same question. I turned it around. I said, well, what about you? He said, I think about it every minute of every day. And then a week later, he called me to tell me something, and he starts off the conversation by going, tick, tock, tick, tock.
Yeah.
This is a dark person, in a sense, but
dark person.
It is what it is. I mean, if you're religious, you have, I think, a better feeling toward it. You're supposed to go to heaven, ideally not hell, but you're supposed to go to heaven if you're good. I think our country's missing a lot of religion. I think it really was a much better place with religion. It was almost a guide.
Fire.
It certainly said it was a guide. You want to be good to people. Without religion, there's no real.
These true video games, yeah, I played them in the background
sometimes.
sometimes.
Yeah, get back to religion, more religion in this country.
Without any political
Well, Mr.
stuff.
President, thank you for putting yourself out there, and thank you for talking today.
Look, I love the country. I want to see the country be great, and we have a real chance at doing it, but it's our last chance, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I never want to hear any criticism about the Kamala Harris interview being a quote-unquote softball interview after fucking that from Trump. And the Theo Vaughn interview, too. The Theo Vaughn interview was also a fucking softball interview. Now, to be fair, Theo Vaughn did also give a softball interview to Bernie Sanders. And Lex Fridman also... Lex Fridman is known for his empathetic interviews to people.